新千歳空港国際アニメーション映画祭コンペティション短編部門インターナショナルコンペティション4で受賞する作品名ドッグアパートメントの作家プリート・テンダーさんです。それではお話をお伺いしていきましょう。はい、please.
Hi, come fine.
What, what are you wearing?
I'm wearing a hat. It's cold here. I wear a hat.
Okay, you're in Bulgaria.
Yes, it's a very cold country.
Cool. So your film, Dog Apartment, I loved your film. The story is really fascinating. So the the story is inspired by a poem by Andras Ehin,
Yes.
who was the Estonian writer, and you adapted or inspired by his poem in vegetated direction before. So what made you want to make this film again, like inspired by his work?
Yes, I find his surrealist poetry very inspiring. I find it very visual. So while reading these texts, you get very strong visual images. And this poem about the dog apartment, I think it's the best if you don't give out the text, but you just make it visual so that you can you take away the words, but basically the words uh, are built into real material. So that for me was kind of a challenge or an interest to make it because if you make a normal poetry film, usually they use the text, the poem is there. But I think in that case, the poem was not needed because the visuals are already so strong and bizarre that come out of it that the text would make it actually weaker.
Is his poem like basically his work is surreal, or like is some of them like are surreal and other works are not?
Well, he's kind of known as our best known surreal poet. So his work is very strongly influenced by surrealism. But of course, actually, he has also wrote a lot of haikus, and I mean, he's done a lot of things, but mostly he's connected to surrealism. So I think in my film as well, I tried to be quite classically surrealist, which means that the settings are very realistic, but then there are the elements of surreal, of dreamlike characters and objects there.
Right. So you make it by stop motion, which you don't like necessarily like always makes stop motion films. You've made like Fox Women by stop motion and other films by stop motion, but it's not always your kind of material. Like at what point did you decide to make it by stop motion? I think it's perfectly like matches the materials and the character designs and the media perfectly match the story. But what
Mhm.
how how did it like how did you decide?
It somehow happened, but also the Nuku Film Studio for actually many years they already asked me like, okay, when are you gonna make your next film, you know, and so on. But I had it in the back of my head under the helmet. I had this idea for years, but now it just happened that I found the right story, and I felt that this story can be told with these real materials, and I was very fascinated to try to make the materials also to live, you know, like the apartment that is made of like rubber, and then basically you can animate it like the things object that we think of they are like solid, they suddenly become flexible, you know, like the sink and the floors and walls. So that was a great challenge and interest for me to use stop motion and to use the material. Because in drawn animation, everything is so simple, it's nothing special. But if, well, basically it's like a 2D animation made with puppets, especially all these deformations there in the room and things. So that was very complicated, but I think it's really worth putting energy into it.
Brilliant. So your films, like all your films, are surreal and instinctive, right? Like what, like, is there any artist or like particular artist or film director who inspired you for like recent work or long-term
Well,
inspiration?
there are many, of course. I mean, I would say Alexander Hodorowski is one of the quite impressive people from that direction. But I don't know. I mean, I watch mostly live action films. Maybe recently I saw Ruben Östlund's last film, The Triangle of Sadness. I think it's hilarious. It's a great film. So I don't know. I think my kind of references or ideas come maybe from live action films more than animation.
And you use like dance and music are kind of big part of your films. And at the ending, like you used, is this a original song? The ending song?
Yes,
How,
yes.
like,
This time I wanted to make kind of a retro film from kind of 80s period, post-Soviet time. And then we used some existing music, like there's one famous Hungarian tune in the car, and then there's the last song is from Moldova, and it's also, yeah, it was there already from 80s, some romantic song about the moonlight.
that's great. So last question. Well, like, are you working on something right now?
Yes, I'm developing one animated documentary actually. I collaborate with one British anthropologist, and it's a bit based on the work that he was doing. So it's quite in the beginning, but now I'm in development. It's very
Great.
different. I try to make my films always very different, and I don't get bored.
That's a great one. Thanks for taking your time. Great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
See you.
はい。
Can I leave?
ありが、Yeah, you can leave.
Okay.
Okay. ありがとうございまし
Thanks.
た。ドッグアパートメントの作家、プリート・テンダーさんにお話をお伺いしました。